Hi there, this is Dennis Velco with OutBüro. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of OutBüro Voices, where we're having engaging and interesting conversations with LGBTQ leaders and allies who are professionals in their fields, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. And we're very pleased to have Sharon Rea. She is joining us from the south of Wales. She has a very interesting project that she's working on, but of course, as always, I'll let her give you all the background information. Welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. So what would you like to know? Where do you want me to start?
Well, first maybe give us just a very quick background as to what you're doing, and then kind of let's delve back into some of the backstories as to why. I really believe that hearing that someone is a astronaut is awesome, but getting some of that background stories into what got them into that field and then what got them into doing what they're doing today is very important, because it not only brings one information about your current projects and your current role, but then how your career path or how your life circumstances led you there, lending credibility, but also giving inspiration to others that wherever they are in their life today, they could possibly follow a similar path.
Okay. In August of this year, I decided in a moment of either sheer genius or sheer madness to develop 3 international empowerment days. One for the LGBTQ plus community, one for men, and one for women. And the reason why I done it was there's a lot of fear around at the minute. And the fear has been brought about essentially by COVID-19. This is something that has rampaged through the world, affected everybody's lives. But it's also brought out fears that have been hidden deep down. And when I'm talking about fears, people are kind of going to go, hang on a second, I'm not afraid of anything. Right, okay. But low confidence, low self-esteem, self-doubt, not believing in oneself, panic, phobia, anxiety. These are all based on a fear. So the thing is, we've got layers of fear that build up and build up and build up and build up. And we can go through our lives running quite happily on that main high road of fear. But at some point, you're going to hit a roadblock, a stumbling block, and how are you going to deal with it? So the thing is, right, okay, let's show you how to deal with it. But I may have been cheeky and developed a content-free way of dealing with it, so you don't have to go right back down into the situation that has caused the fear. So what we're doing is using the system that we have trialed. I've trialed and trialed and trialed, and I know that by taking positive learnings from a traumatic or a fearful experience can actually change your life. But in this instance, we're doing 8-hour days. There's 3 of us doing it. There's Natalie King and Lee Simon. They were mad enough to say yes. When I said, let's go for, shall we do this? And they went, yep, definitely, because the world has changed, and the world as we know it has changed. It's gone, and people keep waiting for normality to come back. But hang on a minute, this is normal. This is the new normal. So we have to deal with it, and we have to allow our bodies and our brains a chance to deal with it also. So the way I look at it is, if you've got a mob out in the street, you know what to avoid. You stay inside, you lock your doors, close your windows, and you might peek out through your curtains to see what's going on. However, with COVID, nobody can see it. It's invisible. So that's what brings about the fear. Now, the fear that we're talking about on these days is regular run-of-the-mill fear, there is another basic fear which induces fight, flight, or freeze response.
Mhm.
That is essential for human life. That's a whole different kettle of fish. If that gets interrupted mid-cycle, then you're causing PTSD, which is something totally different. This is about people who want to empower themselves. This is about men, women wanting to be able to live their lives, their best lives. And the thing is, confidence doesn't come overnight.
Mhm.
Confidence has to be taught. And Natalie, that is working with me on the confidence end of things. She teaches confidence and she classes it as a superpower. And in essence, it actually is, because it's not something we are taught. It's only by walking the walk and talking the talk that we learn to be confident and to learn to wear the term expert on our shoulders. Because somebody turned around to me a number of years ago and said, "You're a total life change expert." And I went, "Eh?" For the simple reason, I'm like, no, that doesn't fit quite well. Um, and then I said, "Why do you call me that?" And she said, "Well, it's like this." She said, "You're a nutritionist," and then listing out a whole host of other things that I do, and all to a master teacher, a master practitioner level. And she's going, "That's what you do. You change people's lives totally. So will you please start to be confident in who you are? Um, Dump the labels that people have attached to you over the years. Lose
Mhm.
them, get rid of them. Just be you. Be the person that you are meant to be, because you are meant to change a lot of people's lives. And that's always been my passion. It's been about empowerment. It's been about helping people create their own future.
Awesome.
And the thing is, at the moment, there's a lot of self-help out there, but on
Well,
these days,
if I could interject there, what you are describing is well rooted in psychological studies and treatment. So there's different people sometimes put different labels on it based on either how they learned or they're just trying to, brand it themselves as well.
mm,
But there are essentially, as you talked, those neurological pathways that when someone repeats the same patterns over and over, that reinforces the neurological pathways that you might have been learned as a small child, reinforced as a young person and teenager, reinforced and or kept held on to as an adult. So for an example, if as a young child your parent didn't spend much time with you in learning and sitting down with you and helping you with your homework, and maybe your grades suffered, so then when that D came home or that C instead of the A, that kind of reinforced that one, you're not
that's
worthy
correct.
to have your parents spend the time with you. You
Yep,
obviously aren't good at school because look, you got a D or a C when the other kids got an A. So that takes down one, I'm not worthy of my parents' attention, time, and love and support. Two, I'm not good at education. Everyone else has done better. And that starts to break away very slowly. So sometimes, and little things like that, sometimes the worst damage to someone isn't the punch in the face or the major trauma. What you're getting to, and why I wanted to have this conversation with you, is because I fully, wholeheartedly believe in one, getting help. And sometimes you don't even realize you need it
no,
because it becomes such a norm that most people 99.99999999999% of people are walking around with trauma, and they really don't even realize it, because it is that low self-esteem, that low confidence that you talk about is a result, and super shyness and so forth is a lack of confidence. You know, when someone's always like this, it's it's a lack of confidence, and that is because that has come out through. Now, certainly, you know, I'm not trying to say, I don't want hate mail. Oh, I'm shy, but I've never been traumatized. Maybe you don't realize it. Maybe you don't realize it, because these little things that people say and do in your world of influence, your parents, your grandparents, your cousins, your siblings, your teachers, your classmates, etc. I mean, you know, when we're looking at the LGBT community, where there's just a study come out that like 97% of LGBT people in high school and below experience homophobia. So
Correct.
just in that 97%, in some form or fashion, and some it's very extreme, some it's just hearing negative jokes. But what that does is it tells them that society believes not only do they have fear of coming out to their parents, there might be all kinds of cultural reasons, religious reasons, etc. And then they're also hearing from their peers, who they're seeking acceptance of, that you're not worthy, you're not good.
Oh, yes.
So you are hitting on a very great topic, and really would like people to pay attention to this. There are lots of books out there. Sometimes people call it your neurological pathways. And sometimes you
Yeah.
use metaphors like you do as well. But the thing is what I like is and you described it in our initial conversation together, and that is, you have to be aware first, so that you can put that roadblock to say, nope, not going to go there anymore. Let's go over here. And
And
that's someone like, for an example, if you are dealing with someone in your life that instantly goes to anger, instantly, like we ended a 17-year relationship / divorce 3 years ago. And I am a very relationship oriented person. So there, within 3 months, I was already in another thing that lasted a year. But the guy, although was very nice, and I mean, on the surface, just one of the things that was like irritated me, as he was driving down the road, if someone turned, even change a lane, and didn't turn on a blinker, he would go into a complete and utter chaotic, out of control anger rant, to the point
that's
where
be-
I literally was scared, and several times forced him to pull over into a parking lot, because I was afraid I was going to die in the vehicle. He was that crazy.
yeah.
And he was that way in other areas too. More than 4 beers and more than 2 vodkas, and he would get verbally abusive.
Been there,
And
done that. That's how I
so,
ended up going on this road.
yes, and so some of that neurological pathways is that his father was that times 3.
Correct.
And so he learned that that was a normal response, and a
Hmm.
normal way of dealing with the world around you is just immediately, for what to other people would seem very minute, would just wah, and go crazy. And
Oh,
and again, that's just one example, but just folks, I want folks out there to hear this, because what she's talking about is setting aside a day to put aside and start learning. And then you could possibly start learning on your own. Maybe it'll awaken you to seeking out additional, help, I'll be very open with you. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. After my 17-year divorce, I got into a little bit of trouble. I wasn't used to going out and got into a little bit of trouble, and it made me pause. And so being part of the US veteran system, which isn't just carte blanche, you were in the military, therefore you get the VA benefits. No. But for almost a year, I went into group and individual sessions just to deal with stuff going on in my life. You know, having a 17-year relationship end, my son moving away with my ex to another state, business issues, family issues, just a lot. And so, you know, life can bring on a lot of things for you, and it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. And if you don't have someone right now in your life that you trust to talk with, preferably a professional who actually understands it. That way it's just not a bitchy session. You know, it's just not you griping and bitching,
Yeah,
but
strangely
actually
enough,
in a
I'm going to have
constructive.
I'm going to have a giggle with you here because I've got a list of what I call four-letter dirty words. Now, if I say to you, what's a four-letter dirty word, your mind is going to automatically go straight to one. But
One I say a lot.
yeah, the list that I start with is help, because help to some people is a four-letter dirty word. Talk is another one. Rest, play.
Mm.
They're all four-letter dirty words that people do not want to do. And the thing is, when we grow up, we think, oh, we have to be these, adults. And like you just said, when we're brought up, I mean, I know my age group, traditional Irish Catholic, you don't push boundaries. You don't, um, I was the only child until my brother arrived along when I was 4.5. And then it was a case of, oh, the darling, blue-eyed boy has been born, and that's it. He can do no wrong, which was, yeah, interesting.
Mm.
Um, and I buried myself in books. So by nature, even though I'm not shy, I'm actually an introvert, which is different in that being shy and being introverted are two totally different things. Being introverted is where you need to get peace and quiet to just recharge. Being shy is where you're lacking confidence and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the two different things there. And what I found was that I was brought up in what I would call a very traditional Irish Catholic household, where that it was, I had to, I was the girl, so I had to do everything. Um, so it was, yeah, it was pretty much like that. Um, and I found myself even now at 51, still thinking that I have to be superwoman and supermom and work 18-hour days, clean the house, cook, do the laundry, do everything. But then that's because of the values and beliefs that I was being brought up with. And I find it very hard for me to change. So just bear in mind the amount of years of training that I have had to get to where I am. And I'm still battling every day with changing my values and my beliefs and kind of going, nope, I'm not going down that road again. I'm going to go down this road.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what led me to say, hang on a minute. This works for me. It works for my clients. So let's take it bigger. Let's take it, let's help more people.
You know,
And that's,
one thing that I also learned in the, training and working with my therapist through the VA and the groups and so forth is that everything is electrical and chemical in our body. Everything is electrical and chemical. Folks, hear that. Your thoughts are electrical and chemical. And of course, there's electromagnetic waves and all of that. We could get into other things as well. But when you have that repetitive kind of go-to actions, that also when pain, of course, this, BDSM folks out there, comment below, is is pain addictive? Emotional
Yeah.
pain, emotional pain can be addictive. Everything is addictive, because what addiction is the soothing comforts of a familiar thing. Okay, we're not talking cocaine and heroin here. We're talking dopamine, serotonin, other things up here, the chemicals in your brain. And so when, for example, you're in a bad relationship, at first, well, it might be because you weren't treated well as a child, and therefore you accept it in adult relationships because it feels familiar, and it stimulates the electrical and chemical reactions in your brain that says, oh, that's how daddy treated me, or that's how grandma treated me, or how mom treated me. And then when you get in those cycles of bad relationship after bad relationship, it's actually you. That's the problem. Seriously. You have to fix you, because just like no one can make you angry, no one can make you angry. No one, and the reason is you have total control over the way you accept and react. Now, someone could get you perturbed, but it's, do you go to a whole blow up situation and get out of control? Well, that's loss of control. But it's those chemical reactions that you may be, hear me out, again, psychological books, just don't trust me on this. Google it, folks, all right? You are possibly addicted to those chemical reactions, so you choose the pathways, the roads that feed that addiction to that emotional state. You could be addicted to depression, addicted to anger, addicted to humiliation, and so forth. So you are allowing that. You are choosing that. And what Sharon is talking about here is how you can choose, become aware of those choices, folks. And don't tell me you can't recognize that, because 90-some% of the people drive from work to home and wonder how they got there, right? If you can drive an automobile and be on autopilot, wow, that's pretty dang powerful. So you're the same way when you're going through your relationships and you're reacting to things and people in your environment. But if you stop on that road to driving from work, from home to work, and you purposely say, I'm not going to go on autopilot today. I will not go on autopilot. I'm going to look for everything blue on my way to work. I'm going to look for every flower on the way to work to keep me conscious, so that I am constantly looking aware, and I'm not going to fall into that dead zone or that autopilot mode that is so easy to do. And so that's what she's talking about, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is these empowerment days are about empowering yourself, learning how to be conscious and aware and see those pathways and choose that other direction. Was that an okay kind of statement?
You've got it in a nutshell. The only thing I can add is that the way we work it, or the way I work it, is that when we help change the fear, or when I talk you getting rid of the fear, I will literally work with you guys in such a way that that fear is gone. You cannot access that road anymore. You cannot drive down that road in trance anymore. You cannot, you can't just daydream your way through your life. So literally, it's literally like switching on a light. You flick a switch, so you switch from one road to the other road. Don't worry, you talk through it, everything is done. There's an ebook for going along with the course. There's also a workbook. There's a 6-week peer support group afterwards, which is also closed, and it's only for those people that have been at the conference. And Natalie, Elise, and I will be in there. You can tag us into posts and we'll come in and answer. And the thing is, it's the first time that anything like this has been done in the world. Because to me, education plus information equals empowerment. And the only way that you are going to be empowered to live your life is if you actually stop and make a decision to learn and make a decision to say, right, okay, yeah, this is going to be an 8-hour day. It's not a small day. It's not a short day. This is going to be a pretty intense day. You also get the recording of it for the simple reason that while you might not pick up every single thing that we're saying during the day, over the next few days, you can repeat, rewind, go through different parts of it. You can actually even go through the fear exercise itself again and again and again until it becomes habit, until it becomes almost trance-like that you actually do not go down that road. But I do know that the people that I've worked with, they don't even look, they don't even think about that, but they do know that, let's get real here, there's always things going to come up where people are afraid. As long as it's not the fight, flight, or freeze response, and it's another fear that can actually stop you achieving what you want to achieve, then, because fear leads to anger. If you do not resolve fear, it leads to low confidence, low self-esteem. It leads to panic, phobia, anger attacks. It leads to so much else. And the thing is, out of all of the emotions, anger is the worst.
And it's the
Because,
root. It's a root.
yeah,
It's a root. It's a root feeling, a root emotion that
yeah, the
things
thing is,
get on top
anger is
of.
caused by fear on the back.
Yes, yeah. And what I'd love to interject here too, for everyone listening is, we're not only, this is not just the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm fear of heights and I can't get on a plane. This isn't just fear of spiders or fear of snakes or whatever, or fear of someone attacking you with a chainsaw. This is literally, you can have fear of money. Literally, you can have fear of being successful and being prosperous in your life. You can have fear of love, fear of acceptance, fear of relationships, meaningful relationships. You might keep everything on the superficial level, and you might be in like, I'm not going to name names, but I know someone, he's just 3 years younger than me, and he has never, okay, he's like 48 years old. He has never been in a relationship. Never. And he's only had hookups. And I won't go into all of the personal stuff with him and so forth, but it's fear. It's fear
Yeah,
of connectedness. So not trying to dive down in just one, but just so you know that this is not like necessarily the big fears. These are, she's talking about those little fears, fear of acceptance, because sometimes it's like, what you get is actually what you project, and what you project is based on what's in here. and here. And so you have to first focus on you. Come on now, RuPaul. If you can't love yourself, how can you expect somebody else to? Right?
Oh, well, yeah.
So
And
it's about yourself first.
yeah, people come to me and go, I can't get a relationship. I can't find somebody to love me. I can never keep a relationship. And I'm kind of going, right, hang on a second. Let's strip away the layers of the onion here. Let's take it right back down to the seed. You need to learn to love yourself, honey, first. Because unless you learn to love yourself, then you ain't going to have anybody else love you. It doesn't work. It just does not work. And the thing is, if people say we need some help with relationships, yeah, you need your relationship with yourself to work first, because at the top of that list has to be self-care.
Absolutely.
And Khalil Gibran, he's a prophet. I'm not going to quote the entire thing, but basically he wrote that in a relationship, the two have to stand side by side and they have to stand alone. So they're two independent people, but they come together when they need it. So basically, for your relationship to work, you need to be able to be standing tall, strong, and proud yourself. And I've pushed boundaries. I've dealt with shame. I've dealt with stigma. I've dealt with, I still deal with shame and stigma every day. But it's something that I choose to do because I refuse to allow anybody to give me a label, because labels are their way of making them feel comfortable.
Right.
So basically, it's a
True
case
that,
of,
honey. True that.
because if somebody can put a label on something, then that's great. That's what they do.
Well,
So
and
then
then that's simplifying, and it makes them think they fully understand you.
yeah, it's a case of, right, okay, oh, she's a single mom, so obviously she's going to live on benefits. Her kids are never going to amount to much. So that's one label. Another label is, oh, she has 3 different kids by 3 different fathers. What has she been doing? Obviously not doing something right. That's another label. Another label, strangely enough, is autism, because people like to stick an autistic label on something, but then they don't understand it. There's the labels that I could come up with there, there's depression, there's HIV, there's AIDS, there's transgender, male, female, male.
Right. Yeah, the world is too full of labels. We could be going on for hours of all of
Hours.
them.
We could just fill it up between now and Christmas.
And the whole point here, folks out there, is to check out the show, check out what she's doing, and even if it's a smidgen of a recording that it makes you question. And I hope that you will check out her days and what she's doing. But whether it's due to timing, maybe you're listening at today is November 3rd, 2020, election day here in the United
It's
States.
November 4th.
Yes, where you are. Oh, November 4th. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm still getting in the election news right now, but so I was in that mindset. But at any
And the
rate,
rest of the world getting in the election news as well at the same time.
But at any rate, my point is that this is going to live on the internet with this video and on the 14 podcasting app. So you may be listening to this when the universe knows you need it. and that might be 8 months from now. It might be 3 years from now. So, ooh, does that mean we're traveling into the future? Ooh. Um,
Anything is
you know,
possible.
the thing here is what I would love you to take is, one, if there's opportunity, look her up here. We'll have links on her outbureau.com profile as well to what she's doing. But I also have gone through, and it's a constant thing, constantly reminding myself to take control of my life. I've had to put boundaries and love myself enough to put rules of engagement and boundaries. Sometimes as LGBT people, we have family members who don't respect us for who we are, based on a lot of different things, culture, religions, etc.
There's a
And
thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dennis, but there's a thing that somebody taught me very recently, and it was 2 words, and it was hard no. Because sometimes we say no and we don't mean it, or we can be talked out of it, or it can go either way. However, if you mean what you say and you slam those boundaries down, then nobody can take away your power, because the only person that can give away your power is you. And
absolutely.
the only, going back to what you said earlier on, the only actions that you can control is your reaction. I've worked with transgender adolescents, and I've seen the anger that comes from the confusion and the non-acknowledgement of their wishes.
Mm,
And the anger is coming from sheer frustration at not getting their point across.
mm,
Because we have been brought up in a culture that a child should be listened to, should be seen and not heard. So basically that's, and it's a case of, again, going back to what you said, it's values and beliefs that are imbued in us from childhood up. And strangely enough, the media have a lot to do with that as well, because that's something that is, you've got stereotypical programs that go out on TV from the time that kids are able to focus on a TV.
right.
There is stereotypes, and the thing is, that's what we're then taught. That's where our thoughts and beliefs come from.
Right.
Give,
One of the signals of those.
yeah. And the thing is, if you empower young parents to be able to empower their children, so that by the age of 7, they know that they are powerful in their own right, then you start to reduce the incidence of bullying. Then you start to reduce the incidence of homophobia. Because strangely enough, I know a little girl who came out to her family, and they are so proud of her for coming out, but she's had homophobic comments in school from the teachers
Oh,
inadvertently. And that's in a first world country.
right.
I'm currently working with a small group of people in Uganda, and um, there's 4 of them really ill. I'm waiting on their viral load tests to come back, because at an educated guess, I'd say their CD4 counts are running in at about 100, between 80 and 100.
Okay.
Um,
HIV.
yeah, they're in AIDS territory. They've gone past HIV,
Oh, okay, I
and
see.
they have been refused treatment because they're
Mm,
gay.
hmm.
Um, and my answer to somebody that was in a really high position in Uganda is, hang on a second. The Pope has just come out and said that everyone has a right to family life, and that includes civil union, for people in same-sex relationships. Now, Uganda is Christian, Muslim, and Hindu, but in the majority, it's Christianity. So it's a case of, right, guys, but again, it's fear is stopping that change from happening.
Right.
And how I got to know about this small group was through the advertisement of the Fear It, Change It, Love It days.
Oh.
And she reached out to me and we had a Zoom call. And then she told me briefly what happened. So then I spoke to their human rights lawyer. So I've managed to get them some treatment in a hospital.
Wow.
I'm in the middle of setting up some fundraisers in Uganda actually for them, because there's no way, I mean, with the current economic climate, there is no way that charities in first world countries are going to struggle to raise funds anyway. And the thing is, I believe that countries need to be empowered to raise their own funds for their own issues, because it's only by that way that they learn. So I'm setting up a couple of projects down in Uganda where the proceeds will go, 50% of the money that's coming to the charity will go to empowerment, education, and information projects. And the other 50% in those countries is going for the treatment of HIV/AIDS. But, I mean, these people, they went to what they thought was a safe place, and the person had turned to inform to the police, and 4 of them were arrested.
Oh my goodness.
It's just horrendous, and it's one thing after the other. But the thing is, because of these empowerment days, these 4 of them actually got to a consultant yesterday. They've had bloods done. I have insisted that they go on a prophylaxis, because everyone forgets that Septrin is a broad spectrum antibiotic, but it's a prophylaxis against AIDS. So it protects you against the airborne viruses that everybody else is well able to resist. So I've said, right, well, while you're waiting to do a treatment regime, because they were on treatment previously, but the minute they found out that they were gay, they stopped treating them.
Huh.
So there's obviously going to have to be some resistance tests done and things like that to see what they're resistant to. So then obviously they'll have to wait for the resistance tests to come back. Because if they were treatment naive, it would be an easy treatment, depending on their resistance levels. It might be a little bit more difficult, but at least it's giving their bodies some kind of boost to be able to fight back. And the thing is, and then when you get rid of fear, you have the ability to fight back. And
you have the ability to stand and demand.
Yeah, and it's not fight as in a violent fight.
Right. It's I am worthy, and you have the strength to go for it. So that is an amazing story, how your empowerment training and days have helped people, a small group in Uganda, fighting AIDS, fighting homophobia, see the strength. And of course it took not just the training and the beginning of the training, but it sounds like it's taken a lot of additional intervening and additional efforts on your part, which, what a beautiful human being for you caring for others to do this type of training, and then caring for others, complete strangers like that, to help them get the medical services that they need. Well, we have covered so much topics today, and we are just about time for the sweet spot of our interviews here. Sharon, is there anything else in closing that you would like to share with us today?
No, it's just come along to the House of True North, follow the links.
The House
Um,
of
the hou-
True North.
yeah, and the reason why it's called the House of True North is when somebody is at True North, they're actually in their true home because that's when they're in full balance, so they can see things balance, clarity, wisdom, and leadership. And I'm not talking about leading countries, I'm talking about leading your own life, empowering
Awesome.
yourself to lead your own life.
Awesome. Well, everyone, we much appreciate you staying tuned with us today. Be sure to check out the episode page on outburo.com. That is outburo.com. Also, while you're here, again, I much appreciate you staying with us to the end of this episode. And for that, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down below, as well as click that bell. So when you are on YouTube, watching all other kinds of shows, as new things come out, you will get notified. If you would like to listen to this on the go, perhaps while doing your cardio at the gym, driving with that unconscious or that very conscious way to work and back, you can listen to this on Spotify, our iHeartRadio, Google Apps, and more. And oh yes, you could then also listen to OutBüro Voices while wearing those red 3-inch pumps vacuuming your house. Thank you so much. This is Dennis Velco with OutBüro. Bye-bye.